Hey guys, I still have a bit of setup to do, so give me like 3 minutes and you'll see my ugly mug here in a bit. Basically, the plumbers came in, well, more context. My wife's uncle is a plumber, and he came in to get a second opinion, not a seventh opinion, a second opinion of my drain situation, and turns out there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. They are just trying, the original plumbers were trying to convince me that I needed to spend 7 grand in home repair, despite that the drain is now working properly. It was just the sediment had to drain. So always get a second opinion, guys. I'm setting up my camera now, so give me like, I don't know, 2 minutes and I'll get to your questions. It's going to be a shoulder day. I'm a little bit behind for not so obvious reasons. Shit. We're going to have to put the camera in a weird spot for right now. Because I don't know where my little adapter doohickey went. So it won't sit on the tripod all nice. Plugged in. Yep. Properties. Activate, activate. And you should see my ass. All right. Let's close this one. BD's chat. Gotta pop it out. Hey, Infinite, give me like 2 minutes. All right, one last try. I am literally like soaked in sweat. I had to run up and down my steps like 10 times. But properties. Okay, there's that one. All right, one more second. Okay. Oh, I am like soaked right now. You guys can't even see my face. I'm trying to think of a good spot to put this camera for now. Shit. You know what? Give me like a minute to run frantically, and I'll be right back. All right, you should be able to hear me now. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Oh, I already did cardio today. It's not fair that I had to do so much running, but and here we go. Maybe. All right, this is on battery power for now. All right, how we doing? Ugh. All right, Zero's been doing PE since December, consistent daily. Would I be now considered intermediate? Yeah, I would consider most people intermediate up until 2 years in. Basically, I don't even know if there's any real difference between intermediates and advanced, because like if you do this right, sorry if that was really loud, you wouldn't need to actually increase weight all that much. Like I'm technically doing as much weight as I would have an intermediate do, literally 24/7. So like, Jesus, please laugh. Okay. Ugh. And camera needs to come down. But anyway, you are an intermediate. Advanced doesn't start till 2 years, but again, I don't think most advanced routines are even that good anymore. Like, even my own advanced routines are just bigger intermediate routines, so. No, I'm actually not in good stands with Allstate. We have Erie Insurance as a local insurance, but I can take jokes. That just wasn't a good one. Let's see. 0. Also, would 20 minutes of interval pumping daily still be enough for an intermediate? Without a doubt. Again, I've been doing PE 10 years, 4 years straight, essentially. I've been doing 20 minutes of interval pumping, granted with vibrations lately, but like I've got crazy girth gains in that 1 month I did it. So like on paper, 20 minutes is more than enough, especially if you add in retention. Doing good. Thanks for doing these streams. You're welcome. How much weight do you hang and how long after a session for retention? I do not hang right now. I'm using the Apex extender. It's practically the same thing. It's just extenders are probably a little bit more effective long term. But anyway, I do 8 pounds. Retention, I've switched it up a bit. I've been doing like over dilation, so I'll pump right after and use a cock ring to keep it in. Thought process is that if you're trying to get erect size, you want to be close to erect size almost as much as possible. But normally 2 to 4 hours is a good starting point for, like, let's say you're using an all-day stretcher. If you're doing like the dilation tactics I'm doing, that's like going to be no more than 10 minutes. Hitman, when you order from Peak Male Physique right now, it's a bit of a hot mess because Hink keeps having hits. We turned on search engine optimization so like Google can find us, and apparently these streams are more effective than I thought they would be for sales, even though that was definitely not the point. But right now there's probably about a 2-week delay on orders. We're desperately trying to work back to normal, which would be about 4 to 5 days. Buy it, wait a day for processing, and then it ships. But right now there's about 2 weeks where we're just waiting for stuff to come in. Caramel. I try to do some form of PE every day the past 18 months, even if it's only to manage 15 minutes pumping sessions. So, well, that kind of goes in line with what I've been saying with retention tactics in general. You want to be fluffed up as often as possible. So even 15 minutes does have its use. I'm playing with the wrong window here. This needs to come up. Okay. When I miss a day and pump again, I have really dark bruising even at lower pressures. That's weird, not gonna lie. Let me think about that. Dark bruising would be, so you can pull in like blood to the skin, and that could potentially lead to like a pseudo bruise, but it's really just that your skin's oversaturated with blood at that time. If it goes away when you stop pumping, I would not be overly concerned. PG, when you have, I've been asked this 100 times, more like 20. But do you expect the vibrations to be on sale for 2024 or 2025? Late 2024. Hopefully, like we're talking December. If I think there's an issue with it, it's going to not be until 2025 or early 2025. Hitman, I'm starting to notice water pump is better for me versus doing an air pump. I had a weak session yesterday. Add in a little bit of water to your air pump, and now you have a water pump. And I will start lifting here eventually, guys. I'm catching my breath and letting the carbs hit. Let's see. Infinite, I keep having 3 days off here and there. Sometimes time constraints, social activities, etc. Well, every time you go to the bathroom, pull on your junk for a minute. If you ever get the chance to pump up at night, pump up a little bit before bed. It's going to help a lot, or at least keep that shape. Cybra, can I do retention stuff while having some red dots? I would like to say so. Like, length retention is going to be totally fine. Some girth retention will also be fine. Red dots are more or less broken blood vessels that coagulated, and it's going to lead to some discoloration long term, but it's really not that big of a deal. The main thing you don't really want to do is do working pressures with pumping with them. So like you could still technically do like 70% of your working pressure with it. And some people, like myself, didn't even really care all that much about the red dots and just work through it because games are games, right? I can always fix my skin later, but it's really up to what you want to do. Pitsy, can you still benefit from vibration period therapy if you don't pack the tube? Okay, so most guys, tops will run pretty close to the top of the tube, right? That's going to be plenty for transfer. But let's say they're like in the 20% that doesn't have any contact with the tube. All you got to do is put a little bit of water in it, and that's going to create a medium for the waves to travel. It might not be as effective, but it will still be effective. Hey, Tony, let's see. Infinite, these breaks haven't been detrimental. You're probably right, but like if we're looking at optimization, just doing a little bit of PE is going to go a long way on your off days. Geez. Hayak. Hi, BD. I've been trying to buy some products from your website. The transaction happened. Jesus. Okay. But it showed up on your credit card. Wait, what? The transaction happened on my side. Yeah. So, if it doesn't fall off in the next day or two, contact us, help at Peak Male Physique. We'll give you something to show your bank that it failed on our side and they messed it up. We are trying to figure out what's going on. All you Europeans watching, try to use PayPal if you can, because we don't have any issues with that right now. We might actually have to start taking Bitcoin at this rate. But I'd say it happens once a day, so it's not really you. It's more likely me, but you know. Mike Ross, any tips for Peronis? Yeah, so massage the tissue like 10 to 20 minutes a day. That's going to break down any fibrotic buildup or calcium deposits. Then with a low tension device like a low tension extender or all day stretcher, you need to basically wear that for like 2 to 4 hours a day. It doesn't have to be like overly stretched, but enough to keep the tissue straight. The straighter the tissue, the more likely it is going to take the straighter shape. Okay, so Hitman, are you talking about all-day stretchers? Found out the meaning from Hank in a video yesterday. So they are not going to be good for long-term gains, but they're going to be very good for retention. And if you, even on a couple streams, you know what retention is, where you just try to stay bigger for as long as possible, so that way the shape changes to match that shape long-term. That's what all-day stretchers are for. It's not necessarily healing an elongated state. It's literally training shape, but that's semantics at this point. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm actually in the middle of doing some retention, and it's been a bit too long with it on, so give me 1 minute. I'm just going to the other side of my basement. Okay. I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. We talked about this last stream, but what are these floating hearts and shit? I don't know if you guys are doing it or it's just Google doing it, but Google as in YouTube. I'm assuming it's you guys because it gets worse anytime I mention it. Anyway, love your educational content. Question, the gains are permanent. So gains are going to be mostly permanent. You're going to lose about 5% at most. So depending on erection quality. Your tissue is going to be super flexible after doing PE, but after like 2 or 3 months, it's going to get back to like normal state. So any new tissue that you put on is going to contract a bit with it, but in most cases, it's only going to be about 2 to 5%. So we're talking like a quarter of an inch. And then it depends on how much swelling you have. So like some people just have a lot of lymph buildup, and that can cause like pseudo gains long or midterm. But the way we teach PE now is not so much of an issue. Okay, so I'm focused on girth. My temp gains are sweet in the morning, but I'm back to normal. What can I expect to keep the gains to stick around? I know it's a person dependent, but it's just curious. So, are you doing retention like I laid out AM, PM, and then a normal session midday? That's been like the biggest change for me lately. Like it looks completely different to me too. I don't know if I got over some body dysmorphia recently, but like it just looks like it actually looks like a proper 9 now. But anyway, in general, I find 10 minutes of cock ring wear post pumping sessions really helps keep shape for whatever reason. I guess it's because the tunica tries to contract, but it really can't, and it is in that like kind of bloated state. So you could try that. Any relatively strenuous job is going to make it hard for that swelling to stick around. So if you're a construction worker, don't expect to have a big floppy flaccid all day. It's just really an uphill battle to do that. But in general, if you're seeing constant changes in the pump and right after, you're going to gain. It's just a matter of time that it becomes your normal erection. Thank you for pointing that out, Infinite. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy because you guys can see it now too. But anyway, Caramel, what is going on, or what is the optimal amount of hours to be training length over a 7-day period, I assume, to maximize gain? What variables should be increased at first time retention? So, general rule of thumb, always increase time before weight until it gets to the point where it's kind of hard to do PE. So like most people, that's going to be like an hour cutoff. Then slowly increase the weight at each set. So like first set, let's say you're at 5 pounds. For the first month, you're at 5 pounds. Once you finally get up to your maximum sets that you can do reasonably, first set go up to 7.5 pounds, rest sets stay at 5. And then every 2 or 3 weeks, add in another 7.5 pound set while taking away a 5 pound set. You're just gonna slowly work it up. We're really trying to avoid any strength adaptations. If you jump to 7.5 away, you're actually like losing a chance at eking out a lot of gains between 7.5 and 5. PG, have you coached anyone with lymphatic issues? Yes, and sadly, it was probably the only person I couldn't get to gain. And he had a, I'm not, I don't know the word right off the top of my head, but essentially the spermatic cord was swollen. So he could not like pump at all. And his main thing was girth. So like between clamping causing any lymphatic issues and pumping literally compressing right on top of the inflamed spermatic cord, there's no way we could get him to gain. It didn't help that he also had hyaluronic acid filler. And like, guys, I'm okay with people getting fillers and stuff, but like once you get that shit, PE becomes like twice as hard because you have to expand through the hyaluronic acid. And that hyaluronic acid also just pulls in a lot of water. So like it's going to be next to impossible to actually grow the girth of your shaft when you have a filler. Javier hit a push workout this morning. I did 30 minutes of fasted cardio, and that's hopefully why my shoulders are coming in nice and juicy, at least on my tiny camera. Probably look like shit on here. But um, the C ring for even 5 minutes makes a huge difference for sure. Yeah, I'm a little mad that I got rid of that recommendation, and I'm not blaming Hank. I should have just trusted my gut a bit because back in like 2022, I started to get rid of anything that was not scientifically backed. So like, for example, I didn't think um, cock ring wear right after pumping had any scientific benefit, but like uh, most of my girth gains came with from me wearing a cock ring right after the fact. And I just didn't use my intuition to like, okay, there's something to it and I should study it. Rather, I threw it out and then I had to re-add it later. Okay, Halo, I will answer that in 1 second. Thank you for the super chat. Okay. Um, hot sunshine. It won't kill the rings. It won't kill the rings. It won't kill the nerves with the rings on. No. So, nerves are relatively strong tissues. Additionally, our penis is literally nothing but blood, right? So like it can handle a lot of time without uh, straight on blood flow. And at the same time, like if you think about the compression hanger, the male hanger, you're literally squeezed all the blood out of your dick for 20 minutes, and most people never have nerve issues along with it. So 10 minutes in general is going to be good. Most cock rings are safe to wear up to 40 minutes as long as it's not like a clamp style cock ring. So like we're talking an inch worth of cock rings up your shaft to like really limit any blood flow in or out. And it's more so that pressure can cause the damage rather than the hypoxia. If you get tingles, though, that's a sign that your nerves don't like it and you should take it off. That's why I recommend doing only 10 to 20 minutes, mainly for lymphatic issues more than nerve issues, though. I cycle out for my cardio on a station bike. My ball sack rests on the tip of the triangle. See, what stretches should I do? So you're saying that your testes are a little too high compared to your hips and it causes some discomfort, or do you want them to hang over the seat? Either way, first get different underwear. I cycle most of the time. I wear relatively tight underwear to the gym for that purpose because otherwise I'm bouncing up and down while cycling. It's not very comfortable. Secondly, if you're trying to like stretch your nuts, literally there's little ball stretchers. We sell them at Peak Physique, but there's definitely better ones out there that you can slowly stretch the sack out. Stretching your sack is really simple. All you do is you keep it from not being able to suck back up. Some people even use weights for this. Okay, let's get this super chat. Okay, these are very interesting. I would be more than happy with an inch in a year. I got filler and lengthening surgery. Possible already seeing gains. First of all, what lengthening surgery did you get? Because the most common one is suspensory ligament vivisection. I think that's what they call it. That's when they cut the legs, and that potentially helps gains. You don't have to give me a super chat every time. I'll know it's you, Halo. And thank you for the other one. It actually works very fast for me lengthwise, even though I thought it works. Somehow it works faster because of surgery. Weird, thanks, man. Girth, I don't care about. So, you got filler, you don't care about your girth, you only want more length. When you cut the suspensory ligament, it kind of removes an anchor point for the stress to mitigate into. So, you're literally stretching all of your shaft at that point. You got to be a little careful though, since you don't have that extra anchor point. You're literally pulling from the internal penis, which is connected by muscle. So like if you pull too much, that muscle can strain. There used to be the idea that you can pull out internal penis. It's next to impossible without causing severe pain. So if you're already seeing gains with whatever you're doing, keep at it. Just be very careful adding weight. Like I normally recommend doing 2 pounds, maybe, I don't know, every 2 to 3 months. Start with 1 pound every 2 to 3 months and go from there. But like in general, you completely isolated the shaft. The ligaments cannot take any weight. You shouldn't really need to go up in weight at all. Okay. Eagle fit. Won't wearing a sleeve through the day help retain your stretch length? It definitely does. I just don't know how much it translates to erect length, and that's why I've been doing this dilation stuff. Additionally, if I can gain an eighth of an inch of girth and a quarter of an inch of length at the same fucking time, that's going to be like the best discovery I had all year, right? So that's the main reason why I'm doing dilation. I really got to start lifting. There's too many questions. Is 10 minutes of manuals of good technique and time under tension enough? For the most part, it's good to start, but like after your first, let's say, month, you're gonna probably want to add another couple minutes. Every month, add another couple minutes. Okay, currently doing 6 5-minute sets of extending at 10 pounds, followed by 10 inches of mercury, 5 sets for 2 minutes. Do I need to overload progressively? 6 sets, 5 minutes. You are literally doing exactly what I'm doing. If you're not seeing gains, that's the only time you really should be going up. And if you want to make sure that you're doing enough, strain metrics and fatigue. So in device, 4% longer. When you take the device off, at least 2% longer compared to what you were right before the session. In general, the only thing you'd really have to worry about is the weight. You're probably gonna have to go up 2 pounds in the next month or so to keep up. I would recommend when you get to about 15 pounds, you take a couple weeks off and then start back at 8. And that's at least what I did recently. Benito. So I don't think you got the memo about the super chats. I will see your message. Don't worry. I do not need your money, but thank you, Halo. And did he send? Yeah, you did send another one. Okay. Python clamp and vibrations. I'm not a big fan of Python clamps. I'm not even sure if they're made anymore. But I don't know how effective vibration clamping will be, and I don't really have the interest to test it. On my first initial thoughts is like, since we have an external pressure of either tension or length, and my camera is focusing on the pillar instead of me. Anyway, instead of focusing on just tension or external pressure being applied, that internal pressure from clamping might not be enough to cause gains long term. You'll still get all the benefits from vibrating. I just don't think clamping's the right tool to pair with it. Okay, super chat. Halo, is it actually working faster because of the surgery? Sometimes it seems absurd. I've been doing this 4 to 5 weeks, very strict, crazy results already. Could you tell me what you've gained so far? Because if it's a lot, I might get my ligaments vivisected as well. Robert, I appreciate what you share. Thank you. I don't know if you were here for this, but those plumbing issues I were having were apparently flat out lie, and I was about to get scammed out of an 8 grand basement redo. So I know you commented that. That's why I brought it up. Now you got the delts coming in. BFF is definitely coming down. Thank you. The last couple weeks I was a very salty boy, so I did not have nearly as much definition. I finally cleaned up my diet, but okay. PG. One time I liked to put toe shields on because I couldn't find my ring and wasn't paying attention, and I'm bursting a blood vessel. IDK. I don't know how people are using 9 for clamping. It seems a bit extreme to me. So maybe they're stronger than I thought they'd be, but I thought one of my cock rings would be 3 toe shields. I think it was a bit more bad luck on your part than anything else, but who knows? Felt an electric shock through my twigs. This is the one I was looking for. When doing some masturbation, and sensation is dulled, no change in 6 months, taking Cialis and vigor. So urologist didn't help. What else should I do? Well, if you still have sensation, you really want to be looking for like kind of like more prickling and tingling, and that means your nerves are going to try to reactivate. You're more than likely to not sever the nerves, which is a good sign. It just sometimes it takes a decent bit of time for them to reactivate. You could try, we sell Shield on Leviathan subs. If you don't want to pay tariffs or anything like that, literally just look at the back of the bottle. It should be one of the pictures on Leviathan subs, but just try some of those supplements, see if those help. The vitamin B3 stuff probably goes a long way, and same with the alpha lipolic acid. I can't think of the other stuff off the top of my head right now, but like in general, nerve injuries just take a while. Is there a way to get an upwards curve? The only thing I can see doing that is by just getting really hard erections, and I already have a natural upward curve, all right? The harder my erections is, the longer the curve is. And I noticed this a bit with people that have used PGE-1, that's an erection drug, that if they constantly take it, they start getting this like bowing out and upward shape. So like potentially clamping could cause upwards curve because it does the same mimic or mimics it a decent bit, but in general, you can straighten out curves, but adding one is usually a sign of fibrosis, and we tend to avoid that. Okay, Halo, new healthy veins, much longer flaccid, 1 centimeter longer erect. Is there any scientific explanation for like it seems like I'm on a steroid a bit? Have you done PE before the surgery? Because you could just be a super responder. Right now, it sounds like you have a lot of just erectile quality improvements. Never. Okay, so right now I would just lean that you're a bit on the fast responder side, than that the surgery had much to do with it. The length gains for sure, but like the erectile function improvements, like that's what the new veins are. I would not say that's going to be from the surgery, especially if you already had filler. But even with filler, I'm sorry, pontificating, that would kind of obscure the veins and potentially uh, slow down arterial supply to them and kind of cause atrophy that way. So just if you're doing pumping, for example, or any kind of stretching, that will eventually cause the nerves to, not nerves, veins to regenerate. What's the best source for PGE-1? I don't know, and it fucking sucks. So I've taken PG-1 a handful of times. Most painful erections of my life. Essentially, if I was not touching myself, it was a throbbing, painful erection. There are other drugs like Trimix that help, but like, trust me, dude, it's not a fun time. I don't know how people sit through 4 to 6 hours of it. What does vibration therapy work for muscle tissue? Basically, any kind of vibration is going to cause the stem cells to activate and then help with lymphatic drainage. And then if there's any growth factors in the extracellular matrix, that's the stuff around your cells, so like the proteins that make up your muscle, for example, that will secrete, and then your stem cells get even more crazy and cause more gains that way. So like it's going to be very good for recovery, but it's not going to be like steroids allowing you to get beyond your natural potential. Okay, at the very least, I'm going to get my grippers to do some forearm training. So give me like 2 minutes to like adjust. Maybe grab my energy drink. Okay. And let's try to get rid of that glare. There we go. And grippers. You know, if these questions keep coming so fast, I'm going to need someone to like co-host with me just to read the questions. I talked to Red about this, but he's a busy asshole because he works for me and I overwork him. But anyway, um, did you think Diddy did dental enlargement with that baby oil? Probably not. Diddy was rich. If he did anything, he got fat transfer surgery. But let's see. Willie Wood, currently 7 inches bone press, 4 inches in girth. I would like to be 9 by 5.5. That would be exceptionally long compared to girth, I will tell you that. Should I pump first or stretch first? And I can use what pump size to get to 5.5. So at 4.4, a 1.75 is going to be enough for your first year, potentially, maybe 2 years. So get the 1.75. As for length, I really need to stretch out my forearms more. But as for length, you really only need, I don't even know what the rest of the question was. I would do what you want more. So like, let's say you want girth more at this point, focus on girth. The idea that you need to do length before girth is a really dumb idea. I have been getting progressively thicker as I've been getting progressively longer, right? It doesn't really make sense when you think about it, because their argument is that since the rope's thicker, you need more tension. Well, yeah, so like if the rope is 20% thicker, you need 20% more tension. 20% more tension at 5 pounds is 6 pounds. So like it is such a asinine argument when you actually break it down. So like if you want girth, go for it. I just would do what you want, okay? Follow up on the electric shock nerve injury. It seems to be safe to do life pumping before 5 inches of mercury to get blood pressure. And how long should the sets be, though? 3 sets, 5 minutes is going to be enough for nutrient delivery. Mr. Cyrillic name. What? Okay, what if I'm doing interval pumping or usual? After 5 minutes, my erection is going to be like 70%. Is there sense to continue? I'm sure most of us are losing the erection while pumping. So like, you need to top off the pressure. So let's say you start at 5 inches of HG. As your dick fills the cylinder, you need to pump up more to match that. So anytime you have any fluctuations, downwards, pump up a bit, you're going to get that overexpansion. The most important thing is going in erect, so that way the tunica is working with you, but like at a certain point, it becomes not that important. It's really just so the initial sets, it relaxes, and then it gets to the point where it cannot contract again. But let's say you take a rest for more than 2-3 minutes. We'll say a minute to be safe. Get erect again to go back in the pump. Halo, but I'm generally safe to keep doing this, right? Yeah, for the most part, just go slow with any progressive overload. And since you're not pumping, you don't have to worry about messing up your filler. If you gain too much length, you might need to get more filler, but that's probably a good thing, right? Um, do you have any experiences with PT41? Yes, and that was also terrible. Um, so manic depression runs in my family. So that means I probably have a mutation in one of my serotonin receptors. PT141 focus or targets serotonin, right? So like my brain doesn't process serotonin normally, so it doesn't process PT141 normally either. So I actually had terrible erection quality. I could not get it up for the life of me, even though it's supposed to make you incredibly horny. So it's a mixed bag, I guess. But okay, Benito, is discoloration from pumping and clamping avoidable? I wouldn't say it's avoidable, but it's definitely fixable. Because first of all, think of it this way. If you're pulling more blood into your penis and teaching it to hold more blood, it's naturally going to get more and more red over time. That's a good thing. I think most people are okay with that kind of discoloration. But if you are um, causing it to become black and blue and stuff, that's something called hemosiderin staining. And essentially, the iron that's left behind from your blood after it's cleaned up, if it gets stuck under your skin, for example, sticks around. And over time, as your skin sheds, it comes up with it. But you can speed it up by just doing some skin peels to pull it up to the surface. Exercise flower. Thanks for the super chat. What do you think the future of extenders is in 5 years? So, practically speaking, extender design hasn't really changed that much for 20 years. The only difference being that we now have a preference for having the springs near the top of the sled rather than at the bottom. That makes it much easier to track gains, and now we also have the advent of a bunch of high tension extenders. I'm not sure if I popularized that or Massive Novelties Perv did it, but basically I had a video about 10 years ago, not 10 years ago, Jesus. I had a video about 3 years ago from a high tension extender from Poland that did pretty well. And then it slowly became more and more popular with that. It might have actually been Total Man because they had a relatively high tension extender that they threw out, and it was a really good design. It pisses me off that they didn't just keep it, but you know. So I don't think it's going to change much. A lot of people are trying to add in smart functions, but at the end of the day, all it's going to do is make the springs go up on their own. That's not going to be the most useful. Kenny, if I'm under expansion, is that still a good session? It depends. Like, for me, a bad session is when it's nothing but edema. If you can squeeze in a couple more sets to get good expansion, go for it. But like at the end of the day, as long as you are getting near the expansion metrics, you're probably going to see positive changes. Halo, have you said, since you are not pumping, I'm pumping and stretching? Okay, so I'm not sure what kind of filler you have, but pumping can speed up the degradation of hyaluronic acid. I'm not so sure about silicone, and it could really fuck up fat transfer as well. I don't think fat transfer is all that popular now, so be careful. Is 1 inch a year realistic? I like to think so. Realistic meaning that if you stick to PE for a year, you should be able to gain at least half an inch. If you're a bit lucky, you can gain an inch with relative ease. My business partner Hank, if you don't know who he is, he has another YouTube channel. He produces a lot more content than me. Made a video like, I don't know, 4 to 5 months ago at this point, saying what are realistic gains. And what he means is he's assuming that people are like kind of half-assing PE and they will have to take breaks because of life. He assumes that you can only gain about a half an inch in a year. I think that's a little understated, but you know, he's a doctor. He's going to be a bit more on the side of caution. Is 5 minutes of BFR massage and 5 minutes of semi-erect bends enough for tunica release? It's more than enough. I kind of overprescribe it to other people because I don't know if I'm just naturally relaxed down there, but like I literally only do like maybe 3 to 5 minutes a day at this point. But yeah, that's going to be plenty. If you don't think you need that much, basically the consistency is going to be the same. So like once you get to that squishy consistency, you do not need to do more of it. Go Hono, I think. Yeah. Thanks for all the support. Been to multiple doctors and offered little to help. Most helpful I found, well, you are welcome. Hank is going to be much more useful than this because his main thing is injury prevention. At least that's what he started with. Because of dumbasses like me recommended stupid stuff back in the day. But is pumping 20 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, a week good enough? I'd add in massage mechanics if you can. Cockering 10 minutes after that pumping. But really, the more important thing is the set protocols you have. So like 20 minutes straight is going to be mostly edema. 4 sets, 5 minutes, a lot better expansion. And then if you could do 2 minutes, you're going to get much more like fatigue, and that's what's going to cause collagen growth. Expansion is more useful for like shape training is a good way to put it. And I'm going to have to like redo a bunch of videos because of this. That's the fun part, right? And it's free content. Now, 41 concurrent viewers. This stream is actually slowly growing, and I'm surprised by that. Because who the hell is free at 2 p.m. here in the States? But anyway. Okay, we did that one. Why is my pre-stretch flaccid less than my post-stretch flaccid? Is this a sign to increase weight? That sounds correct. Your pre-stretch flaccid should be smaller. If you meant your post-stretch flaccid, that's a sign that you're having stress contraction, which means that it can't really handle this weight. You actually probably want to go down in weight and see if you get a better relaxation benefits from it. In general, if I do more than like 12 pounds when I'm untrained, I get contraction. And my friend Perv, the guy from Massive Novelties, notices the same thing. Work from home gang, exactly. I barely did PE this year, and I gained 3/4 of an inch bone pressed erect, but it was mainly EQ when I last measured a month ago. Nowadays, my EQ is shit. Wait, my EQ, my erection quality ain't the best, so I've gone down in length. Yeah, that happens. Get back to whatever you were doing if you want to keep it. You could just try low-dose Cialis and see if that helps you stay where you need to stay, but I'd just recommend doing healthy stuff first. If you just want an inch, would you expect to only go up to 4 pounds? So based off the research that I saw, and I'm just walking because I still need to do this part. Ow. Based off the research I saw, 4 to 6 pounds is where like tendons and ligaments start to stretch, okay? So like, obviously it's going to depend on the size and stuff, but if we extrapolate that to PE, gains don't really start at like, until you hit like 5 pounds. Like if we're talking tissue fatigue gains. So I would say you need to get up to about 8 pounds and play around with it like that. That's going to be your sweet spot. And for the record, a lot of people think I'm recommending too little of pressure and too little of weight. So, like, that low weight would be laughed off with some other people. It's possible at 4 pounds, but I would say you need to crank up the weight a bit. I use Cialis, doesn't do much. Okay, so Cialis only works by changing PD5 inhibitor, or limits PD5. That's a peptide that causes contraction of blood vessels. So, like, yeah, I could see that if you don't have a strong enough heart, that's going to be like the main thing to cause the pressure needed for an erection. It's not going to be able to be a full erect penis if you don't have a healthy heart. Okay, that one, he meant post and pre-stretched, so he flipped it. I was getting more elongation with 5 pounds and about 2.5 months ago, but for the post 2 weeks, my post is less than pre. Okay, so when's your last break? If you haven't taken a break in about a month, take a week off. Anytime you have a sign like that, that's going to be a stressor, and it's going to actually potentially lead to like fibrosis down the line. Do not try to push through it. A week off is going to be enough, and if you do some tunica release before you stretch, you'll probably get a decent return on investment in that 10 minutes, meaning that you'll stretch a bit more. Okay, Hank, is there really no benefit to be gained in the lower pressure ranges? It depends on your natural erection quality. So let's say you have relatively poor erection quality to begin with, about 3 to 4 inches of mercury. Anything over 4 inches of mercury is going to lead to stress adaptation, and that's what we want. So it really depends on your own level. I personally think most people are going to need somewhere between 5 inches of mercury to 15 inches of mercury, and as you train, you're going to need to slowly increase that over time. But in general, most guys will see gains starting at 5 to 7 inches of mercury, and then they need to continuously increase the pressure or time to continue to see gains. Ugh. Okay. I can finally breathe. I'm just checking some stream chats, or stats rather. So I started the stream a bit late because I tried to squeeze in PE right before this, and then since I had plumbers down here, I didn't want to see my weird janky setup and question it, especially because they're technically in my family. But it was a weird PE session this time because I jerked it a little too late in the morning, and that caused like some weird feedback loop, I guess is a good way to put it. Because anytime you masturbate and release, if you catch my drift, ejaculate, you get an actual like contraction response from your body. Because like, okay, you do not need to put any resources to this right now. There's going to be no benefit of being aroused right now, so we're going to actually make it harder for you to be stretched out. That's a poor way of putting it, but you'll be less likely to be aroused, and your penis is literally fighting against you when you do PE. So if you are a bit of a horny guy, really try to limit your masturbation habits till after PE, because it just makes it that much easier. All right, Benito, I have only tried two things, and that is the pumps that I saw at Peak Physique, and then the Apex extender with vibrations. Any pump will work, including Bathmate. Any extender will work, including all the brands that I don't like. But in general, as long as it has enough space for your dick and the vibrator, when we're talking about the extenders, you're good to go. You can even do it hanging. I use the extender because first of all, it's a really good device, the Apex extender, and second of all, weights are a little annoying to deal with, especially when you sit on your couch to do PE, and when you get to like my length, the weights hit the floor. So you gotta like have a special setup to not have that issue. That one, I've been doing mod jokes. I'm getting a pump soon. What do you recommend if I do uh instead? So mod jokes are good to help get used to holding pressure like that, but I would not use mod jokes after you get the pump because the pump is going to be like 10 times better across the board. I only really teach mod jokes for the first 3 months or for people that cannot have a penis extender or pump and they need to do manuals because either their country doesn't allow them in or they still live at home at like their parents' home. Okay, so with the pump though, 3 sets, 5 minutes, or 10, not 10, 5 2-minute sets of pumping. It really is up to you. I would err on the side of 3 sets, 5 minutes, because if we're going for shape retention, we're going to want that rather than fatigue right now, or shape training rather. Okay, Julian, do you think PE could lead to sperm damage? Could that lead to birth defects? One of my good friends in this field has multiple kids while doing PE. It did not cause any complications with the child. The only thing that could potentially, and I mean like potentially, hurt sperm production is testicle pumping. And that's because you're literally kind of like pulling your testicles apart. And even then, like let's say you have a testicle pumped in 2 to 3 weeks, your sperm production is going to be back to normal. So it's more likely going to make you infertile before it like messes up meiosis. Forsaken, that seems like a deep cut. I'll get to it in a second. That one, I think I answered your question. M West, been experimenting with vibration in the extender. Have you used vibrations on both sides of the shaft? Have you experienced any difference? I have not used it on both sides of the shaft. Think about it this way. The corpus spongiosum is relatively weak. If anything, it won't benefit at all from direct contact. If anything, it would damage the corpus cavernosum, not corpus cavernosum, corpus spongiosum because it's so thin. I would not do it below the shaft. Even when pumping, I keep it directly on top just because we're using a pretty high-powered vibrator here. We don't need to worry about it not getting through the entire tissue. So okay, BD, in a comment from Getting Bigger, you said you took 6 months to reach 5 inches flaccid. That sounds accurate. And then 10 inches to reach 6 inches flaccid. Any reason why it took you so long to get to 6 inches flaccid? Well, first of all, there's at least 4 years, maybe 5, where I didn't do PE. And if I did do PE, it was poorly and I did not see any tissue changes, so my flaccid won't change. Then I started growing and it finally slowly caught up. So like I was basically like 7.5 for all of college. So senior year of high school through college, so that would be 5 years. No real changes except for maybe base girth because I was using the bathmate. Then when I got out of college, that's when I started PE again. First year was a bit of a wash. Second year, I got healthier like physically and I was able to actually get some size. And I think that's when I got over 6 inches flaccid. Okay. War Child, what? Mercury. It's INHG is what you're looking for, War Child. Is a bit of pain normal when pumping? A little bit. It shouldn't be crazy. So For example, if I have a relatively tight day in general, let's say I just was stressed that day, my pump sessions will be a bit more intense because my penis is tight, therefore the added pressure hurts the dick a bit. It should be like an intense erection kind of pain rather than like throbbing pain. Any burning pain, any tingles, stop pumping. Okay, hold on. So what is the point of testicle pumping? Exactly what you think. Fetish pumpers try to make their testicles bigger, or at least pull in a lot of fluid into their nutsack. If you go on r/pumping, I guarantee you one of the top posts has testicles pumped up in it. Interesting thing is, negative pressure on ovaries, well, that's the same thing we do with penis pumping, actually leads to better fertility outcomes in vitro, not in vitro, whatever, when the ovary is removed, and then they study it that way. Still living tissue, just outside the body, ex vivo, I think. But since the ovary is literally the direct comparison to the testy, negative pressure on the testes might increase function over time. I do not want to waste any more time playing with my dick than I have to. But getting bigger nuts, higher testosterone levels, and higher sperm count could be of major benefit to a lot of people. I have no real research to back this up other than I saw an excerpt from a 1964 article talking about ovaries. So don't take my word for it, but it is something I'm interested in, but I just don't have time for it. So. Okay, after an hour, in an extender, should I do 3 sets, 5 minutes in the pump at 7 inches of mercury, or 10 at 11 inches of mercury? I don't know why you're going to be switching pressures like that. I would personally do, right now, if you're going for length, do the dilation work. So that's going to be the 5-minute sets over the 2-minute sets. Okay, one more set of this, and then I'm going to try to do seated cable presses. Okay, I was confused about your comment on toe shields. Is there any way I could use them without devices? I'm considering the big box kit, but would like to use toe shields before then. I mean, they're fine. There's just apparently either whoever had issues with it had a super strong one, or he just got very unlucky putting it on. You just need a lot of them to mimic cock rings because they're thinner and more elastic material. Okay. This workout's taking fucking forever. You know, if these streams keep getting more popular, I'm just going to have to do them before I lift, so that way I can actually focus on this. Let's see. Do you use intervals when using the vibration device? Sometimes. For the most part, for pumping I do. For length work, not so much, because we don't really need to worry about hypoxia for one. Second, since we're like literally in direct contact, you can actually see the dick bounce, and that's basically micro stretching. A lot of people are trying to mimic that aspect, and that's not really the beauty of vibration work. But anyway, intervals, useful. Length work with intervals and vibration is going to be redundant. I swear my junk's about to pop out of these shorts. I have to keep double checking. I know that sounds like a brag, but I could lose my entire channel if that happens, so. Where's the burning at, Halo? If it's in your skin, probably normal. If it's like internal, you probably want to stop. Okay, give me like 1 second, guys. something fell out of place in here, so I had to readjust, if you catch my drift. Where's my other cloth handle? Eight. Perfect. Wait, let's do... I'll do 30 to start. 35, whatever. Sorry, guys, I just had to focus on this for a split second. Okay. Where are we? Any tips for uncircumcised edema control? Have tried 1 millimeter of interval pumping, or 1 minute of interval pumping. Girth band to limit expansion, 1.75 is too small, and the 2-inch cylinder is a bit too big. I would still use the slightly bigger cylinder because that's going to allow for more outwards expansion, and you should get less foreskin expansion because more of your dick can take up that pressure. Just get something called a pump sleeve. That's just a piece of rubber that limits skin from getting in, and that's going to help a lot with discomfort. In general, foreskin edema is very hard to avoid. You could try a glands cap. We do not sell those because they're a bit dangerous when it comes to the intended use, and that's with vacuum hanging. But a glands cap would keep your skin from like over expanding, since it's going to have pressure keeping it in place. Okay, I cannot read from that far. So I'm relatively nearsighted. My contacts are good, but I guess not that good to read 12-point font from 8 feet away. So give me 2 seconds, guys. Pull you closer. Okay. Mustache. Any tips? Okay, I answered that one. Matthew, 32, what's up, BD? Any thoughts on the Total Man all-day stretcher? It's probably good enough. I have no real opinion on Total Man products at this point. I'm not going to say anything negative about them, because what I've learned is when I talk bad about other people's business, people try to come after me a bit, so no comment. Let's see. Kenny's been at it a while now. Was going to take a week off completely, but would a feeder sex before sex be okay during this time? Yeah, so if you're doing like a deload week, you can do all your retention stuff during it, as long as you don't go overboard. So like be low pressure, 70%, maybe even lower. It's relatively new territory though. Jorge or George. I'm assuming it's Jorge though. My D is like a hardware flask that has no floppiness. I think I did too much. What should I do? Pumping plus heat massage, and is every other day better than 2 on 2 off? So first of all, if you're shriveled after a session like you're describing, the treatment is normally rest. If it persists for more than 2 or 3 days, that sounds like pelvic floor strain. But if your erections are still working, it's more than likely not that. I would do every other day for the most part, but 2 on 1 off, not bad. 2 on 2 off, a little weird, but it works. But in general, just take some time off. The heat and massage can help, but like it's more so that your penis is overworked. And if you do too much to it right now, it's gonna stay shriveled up like that. Halo, thank you for thinking I look jacked. I thought I was looking a little pudgy. um, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with cavitation therapy, but that's essentially sound wave use for spot fat loss reduction. So like it's kind of like cool sculpting, except you use sound waves and that bursts the fat that way. I've been doing that again. I had relatively good success with it at a much higher body fat, and I realized it wasn't working now because it was so high pressure or too high of a level. So I literally cut the level in half, and I'm trying to get this, like, I wouldn't say washboard, but like good enough that I won't be self-conscious at the beach. Waking Dream, the IT guy. So hopefully he's going to help me fix all the issues that we're having with payment processing in Europe. Before I forget, I already played with some off.net stuff to see if that helped, but from my understanding, it has not. Slow workout because of lots of questions, exactly. And I appreciate you for tuning in, because otherwise I'd just be talking to a wall like an insane man. Try to get it slightly better. So the problem with this camera, if it's too far wide out, it makes my torso look a lot smaller and my legs look a lot bigger. And I already have pretty damn big legs. So we're gonna play around with it a bit today. How important is cardio actually? Extremely for general health. So think about it this way. Humans were literally designed to do light cardio 6 to 8 hours a day, whether it be hunting or gathering. You're going to be going after prey, going after berries, whatever, and then dragging it back to the cave for everyone else. We are supposed to be walking. Additionally, like let's say ancient times, if you had to make something, you had to walk to go get the raw materials and bring them back. Every bath you took, you had to walk to the well or walk to the river, bring gallons of water back with you to bathe properly. We are supposed to be doing light cardio, literally almost all day. Now, modern luxury has made it very easy not to do cardio every day. For general health, 20 to 30 minutes of cardio every day is going to make you live like 7 to 10 years longer. Now for sex, if your heart's strong, you can go longer in bed. If your heart's strong, your erections are strong. So if you're neglecting cardio, stop. Okay. I do 20 to 30 minutes of walking because of my dogs. And then I do 20 to 30 minutes of cardio daily, along with weightlifting. You don't have to do that much, but like in general, 20 minutes of walking a day is going to be very beneficial long term. Yeah, so the problem though with cardio is it's boring as shit because we are not hunting things or looking at bushes for fruit, right? So like you got to be creative. Like for example, my wife only watches one specific show while doing cardio, and right now it's Breaking Bad. So she has the incentive to do cardio to watch Breaking Bad, which she's never seen before. So like you gotta do mind tricks. For me, that's like when I do my meditation. So like I can zonk out and then forget completely about the cardio session. Like I barely remember today's. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Cyrillic name. If there's something you want to call me, let me know. I'll just try to type it in a way that I can pronounce it. But Mr. Cyrillic name, do I have to do warm-ups before every workout in your new girth routine? Not necessarily, but I'd do some kind of warm-up for the first 2 weeks at least. And anytime you take like, let's say 3 or 4 days off, do the warm-up a couple times, and then you don't have to do it again. Can you explain the logic behind feeder sets at night? It seems unnecessary considering the experience of hours of nighttime erections. Okay, valid, but like, what if those erections were slightly bigger because you pumped up the night before, or like before sleep, right? So like you get extra time, extra big, if you do a little bit of pumping right beforehand. It's not a make or break. Honestly, I don't know. It could be a make or break for me with my recent gains, but we're talking 10 minutes of work, and then a little bit of pumping just makes those nocturnal erections bigger. It sounds like a recipe for success to me. We're gonna do maybe upright rows might be a bit problematic in my current flaccid state, if you catch my drift, but we'll try them out. And I'm gonna do some bicep curls, and that'll probably be it. But probably won't be done until like 4 at this rate. Okay, valid point. Back to the feeder sets, but why not do them at 10 to 11 rather than just 7? So I'm doing 7 because it's 70% of my working pressure. We are trying to get maximum dilation with these rather than fatigue. That dilation is what changes the shape. The fatigue stuff that we do midday is what's going to cause growth. So together, you're maximizing your size now with your gains later. So if we overdo the fatigue stuff, so at 10 inches of mercury is going to be my fatigue range, I'm going to actually have a worse erection quality over the next following days because I overworked. Okay, Hordy. Hopefully I said it right. I will try to remember that. It's Ukrainian. Okay, I knew it was Cyrillic. I just, Greek letters and Cyrillic letters look really similar. So you don't have to change your username now that I know that you go by Hordy, right? I just don't want to make you feel disrespected because I am a dumb American and can't pronounce anything foreign, but okay. Personally, seeing your latest post, I could see the difference. I could just see the difference in the before and after. You're gonna have to elaborate. If you mean like my gains, yeah, it's been fucking nuts lately. Like that's all I can say. Like I'm still having a hard time believe it. Like when I measure, I'm like, holy shit, I'm over 9, but I've been over 9 for a month now. And like after my last session, I was like flirting with 9.25, like, you know, because I measured, and then after pumping, I was like 9.25. Never happens. It's fucking nuts. I'm here for it, but I just hope that it's replicable for everyone else. Nebby, would thus a male circumcision impact female pleasure? A bit. So, naturally speaking, the foreskin kind of acts like a sleeve for friction. So, like, the woman doesn't have to be nearly as wet to take an uncircumcised penis compared to a circumcised penis because the skin moves, or like the shaft moves inside the foreskin, but the foreskin relatively stays put, and that's going to lead to the sensation for both of them without pulling out any of the fluids. Additionally, with circumcised men, since they have less skin, when they come out, in and out, in and out, it's going to pull out some of that lubricant, the natural lubricant. So circumcised guys can, from most sizes, can benefit from lubrication. Maybe I'll just do them with dumbbells now. I'm already over here. But in the United States, since 70% of men are circumcised because of some Christian zealot, and that's a story for another day, some women are going to be very off-put by an uncircumcised guy. I personally would prefer to be uncircumcised, but it is what it is. Ugh. Okay, let's see. The feeder sets are super underrated. Yeah, I wish I tried them sooner. I tried them at the beginning of the year, got way too fucking busy, and now things are really kicking off with them. Ugh. If you could do only one, stretching or pumping, for you, stretching. For me, pumping. Okay. Halo has filler, and he really wants length, so you prioritize the length. It's that simple. Collagen will form in the shape that you pull it. So like if you pull it long ways, the stem cells travel up the length of the shaft, producing collagen as they go. Girth, the bigger you expand, the more collagen you get that way. It's really that simple. Okay, let me get this real quick. I can do more weight on these, but I really don't feel like having shoulder issues later on today, so. I clipped the tip on that one. Okay. Let's see. For someone who has never pumped before, what do you say the ideal schedule routine is every day or every other day? With manuals on non-pump days, and thank you for your time. Okay, sorry, that took the wind out of me for whatever reason. Pumping as a beginner, 3 sets, 5 minutes every day. Manual stretching, 10 minutes every day. Right now, we're going high frequency, low fatigue, low intensity, because we're trying to change the shape or train your existing collagen to lay a certain way. So the more often you're in the bigger shape, the better. But after you hit like months 3 or 4, we're gonna switch it up a bit. Focus more on fatigue work to get more collagen tissue to build up. So that way you can actually build a bigger penis rather than work with existing tissue. Do you have any supplements for safety? I'm from Europe, so no vigor. So basically, L-citrulline is going to help with pumping in general because it's going to help dilate everything else. But in general, there's no real safety stack for PE, and I literally sell something called the safety stack. A lot of people take this stuff for injury prevention, and then if they get an injury, it helps them recover faster. But if you do PE the way Hank and I teach, you are rarely going to have any issues. Jorge, will you do a video on pelvic floor stretching and strengthening? That'll be very helpful. It's on the list. I will say that. I don't know when it's coming out, but let's see. Would it be worthwhile to do expansion training, then wear low tension extender after your PE session? So like if you're going for length, maybe. If you're going for girth, not so much. If you did length work before you pumped and then put on the low tension extender, probably. But in general, collagen follows the stretch. So like if we're stretching for length and then, hold on, if we're trying to gain girth but then stretching for length immediately after, you might be canceling out those signals. Javier posted a relatively political question. I'm going to answer it somewhat gracefully. He said something about a certain religion in Greenland saying that they lobby to not ban circumcision. And while I don't necessarily agree with it, if we just extrapolate from that, I don't know how much the government should be messing with people's religions. Now we're talking about potentially harming children. I can get it's a sensitive subject, but more accurately, they should have religious exemptions for such a small group of people rather than banning it outright for everyone, right? Here in the United States, what happened was a basically super Christian doctor back in the 1900s, Dr. James Kellogg, I'm not sure on the first name, made circumcision seem like the best way to keep your child from becoming a sexual deviant. Because his thought process was, if you eat boring ass cereal, it's the same guy that makes Kellogg's cereal now, and limited any kind of pleasure, they'll end up being closer to God. And he ended up being on some doctor's boards because he was a doctor at the time. And essentially, he was able to convince a bunch of other doctors of the health benefits of circumcision. So a lot of parents were convinced that circumcision was best for the child, even though they didn't really have a family history of it. And Hank and I go back and forth on this a bit. He is a proponent for circumcision for public health reasons, and there's no real data showing that it messes with sensation. I tend to disagree with him on that, but the public health STD transmission from circumcised people is lower than people that are uncut. So there is public health benefits to having a higher circumcised population, and that's the main reason why ancient populations did circumcision practices as well, because they did not have the same access to soap and water as we did. So if that shit got infected, well, you're kind of out of luck, right? Okay, Giga Chad, MMA. In addition to feeder sets, does your current retention protocol still include daily use of a leg band ADS? I'm trying something different, but like my confirmed, like this will actually do something, is wearing a leg band ADS. Right now, I'm just wearing a vacuum bell, literally, as we speak, to keep it elongated so I can pump right after this. And then after I pump, I'm gonna wear a cock ring for 10 minutes because I'm training for dilation right now. See what that does instead. Losing my balance. Okay. Okay, I feel like we got out of hand with some of these questions. I agree very much with you on the cut versus uncut. Uncut has many more pluses. In general, yeah, like, to me, it's kind of like cutting off the tail of a dog. You're cutting off nerve endings. It's kind of cruel, but like, people are unfamiliar with the practice, particularly in England. They used to cut the dog's tail to signify that it was a working dog and you didn't have to pay taxes on it. So a bunch of these breed standards now require these dogs to have cut tails. So they literally cut them off as a puppy. It's pretty fucking cruel when you think about it. Uncircumcised or circumcision should be a decision made by the adult who owns the penis and not their parents. But, you know, I can't really do much with my limited power as it is. I like doing upright rows of easy curl bar because the angle feels much more natural at the top position. So the wider you grip, the more natural it's going to feel with a barbell. So like I do shoulder width, I can get pretty good, I guess, feel in my wrists, but when I go narrow, that's where it starts feeling a little clunky because like we're adding 10 to 15 degrees more flexion of the wrist. And if you go wider, you hit side delts more. But I'm a pretty front delt dominant person these days. So upright rows usually end up training my front delts instead of the side. Is pumping more for girth or for length? It's going to be all for girth when you have the right fitted tube, meaning that you have enough room to expand. For some stupid reason, length pumping has become somewhat popular again because some $10,000 device made it the crux of their entire design. But speaking from experience, very little gains to be had from length pumping long term. So keep doing extending, hanging, manual stretches for length, pumps great for girth, filling out the new length tissue. Face pulls and then curls. So if I come over this way, yeah, I gotta get you on this side. Now you guys are gonna make me like get a cheap monitor, so that way I can just scroll it and not have to put my laptop on the ground and potentially crush it with weight. So maybe I'll get that later today. Then again, I have a huge one sitting at the office. Might be a road trip. For those who don't know, I do actually have like a retail office space for Leviathan just because we have so much product. I'm supposed to work there some days, but like the past month I have not had to, which has been fantastic. But anyway. Okay, Exan. I think that's how you say that. For vibration extending, do you need to go over 8 pounds? Is it comfortable or I need to stick with your recommended 8 pounds? So I'm using 8 pounds. You do not need to use that. If you're just starting out, I have some reservations about using, what is it? Vibration. But if you are only using 5 pounds right now, start with vibrating with 5 pounds. 8 pounds is what I need to get the stretch. By all means, use less tension. I just specify how much work I'm doing to show people that I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm using less weight than most people in my category. So there's something different to what I'm doing compared to everyone else. I use these shots for the thumbnail, so I need to make sure like at least my head's in frame. That's better. On my auto pump, it says 20 kPa instead of 2. So you are using like 6 inches of mercury then. The rough translation is about 3 kilopascals for every inch of mercury. So you could still pump at, let's do 12 kPa, see how it feels there. Potentially 15 kPa too, but you know, just play around with it. Ask the guy that sells the Apex question. That's Perv, not BD. What was the question? Okay. Yeah, I wish I could help you there. I don't know even how much it costs right now, but you will have to pay tariff, unfortunately. That's what kind of sucks is I think if I send some of my stuff for like German distribution for the rest of the EU, I'd have to send it directly from the manufacturer to avoid a tariff that way. But it's on the works for me for Peak Mel Physique. Again, Apex extenders made by Massive Novelties. So they're going to have different customer service and everything else. And different plans, more importantly. That Fear is a Mind Killer tattoo is amazing. Thank you. It was my first tattoo. I don't know how well you can see because of the lighting. But, yeah. And then we got my most recent one's the koi fish. I don't know how many more tattoos I'm getting. But, like, I kind of feel relatively plain still, if that makes sense. Because, like, my arm's almost covered, but, like, then the rest of me is not covered. I do want to get some stuff on my leg. But, like, I'm a sweaty guy, and the healing's going to suck because I sweat so much. But we'll see what happens. I got the rest of my life to cover my ass. Just for fun, is kegling while pumping dangerous? Yes, I would recommend not doing that. I've been spamming face pulls and my rear delts have been coming up considerably. 10 out of 10. What I really like to do for rear delts, but like mine are relatively well developed to begin with, face pulls followed by this kind of rotation. hold it for a second, and then depends on how you feel that day. Like depending on how your wrists are, you can get different activation on the rear delts. But like for the most part, doing supersets for rear delts is what's really going to blow them up in my experience. Anyway. If I lost my morning wood, asked Mike, what does it tell me besides that? Can you give me a good routine? Sets and work days, only using manuals on a pump. I'm on PE for 4 years now. Okay. Stress in your life is going to probably have more impact on morning wood than it is PE. If you're doing more than 40 minutes a day of PE, that could be hurting your morning woods, but I would look at sleep metrics, stress metrics before that. Giving you a full routine is going to take a lot of time right now. But length, you want to do about 30 minutes to 40 minutes with the interval length protocol. Look it up. And then pumping, interval pumping. Look it up again on my channel. Explains exactly what you need to do. And then newest thing, AM and PM, feeder sets, 70% of the working pressure. Do the feeder sets every day. Do the interval stuff, the fatiguing stuff, 4 to 6 days a week. All right, my wife will be home in 27 minutes, and I will probably end the stream by then. Just letting you all know. So you still got me for a bit, unless I finish up early here. Should someone do manuals until they reach length they want and then start pumping, or can I do both manuals and pumping at the same time? Yes. Pump and manuals at the same time is going to lead to the best results. The main thing is if you're trying to get a lot more girth, do a lot more pumping. If you're trying to do a lot more length, do a lot more length, do a lot more stretching. It's really that simple. You can grow both at the same time. I just noticed that it's hard to focus on both, so you got to prioritize 80-20 either way. 80% length, 20% girth, and vice versa. Can you do a live with Hink? Hink has some issues going on in his personal life right now, but I'm trying next week. Friday, I'm trying to get confirmation from Perv that we're going to go live together 4 p.m. Eastern, so like 30 minutes from this time on Friday. Your thought on the Hogs Extender's new vibration setup? Personally, really misguided. Doesn't make any sense. Does not follow vibration plate mechanics. I don't know what exactly he's doing other than making it repeat pressure or, you know, spam micro stretches. But that's a really good way to get blisters. So be very careful if you're using that device. I haven't looked into it that much, but I don't like it. Like, I would much rather you guys use the Hog Extender and then direct contact vibration plate therapy like I do. But that attachment, absolutely no sense. It's because people are trying to copy out of a device that costs $10,000 that doesn't work. And because men tend to be stubborn, they are living by their bad decision. Oh. How many days off and on miss do you expect on average in a month? So, like I said, I plan for missed days, and those become my rest days. I do 5 days a week. If I can't do it on the normal Monday through Friday schedule, I will make it up on the weekend. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be consistent. But if you're averaging 5 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week, you're good to go. Nebby, I have no clue what the Total Man vibration hanger is. So, like, I'm not really that well connected. Someone else has to tell me about it before I really look into it. But, like, there's a lot of people in the space anymore. I can't really be up to date on everything, especially with how much shit I got going on. If it's direct contact like mine, it's probably going to work. I'm not sure how well it's going to work because I don't know how strong of a motor they're using. But in general, I'm pretty sure mine's going to be better because I actually used a prototype for 3 to 4 months instead of just copying someone else's. So, you know. And like, I don't care if he's copying me. I'm honestly flattered if it's like a similar design. But like, I swear to fuck, if it's copying a Foulback, he's going to lose money on this stuff because Foulback has not shown efficacy. Anyway. Feeder sets. Is this in respect of manuals or pumping? I didn't get it. I used to work with 10 inches of mercury pumping feeder sets. You can do them, so you might know them as piss pools. You can stretch that way every time you go to the bathroom for length. For girth, and maybe even length as well, feeder sets are just AM and PM lighter session pumping sessions. Lighter pressure pumping sessions. And sorry for any of the snark when it comes to this vibration stuff, but like, a lot of this stuff is the reason why I left getting bigger. And like, the fact that I've been right the entire time and no one has admitted to it has been pissing me off something fierce. Ugh. I don't have water down here, do I? I don't. Okay. Sorry, I'm just down here checking stream stats. Finally slowing down a bit when it comes to chat feed. My goodness. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Doesn't look like it. Ooh. Sorry, I'm literally just moaning down here, aren't I? Yeah, it's been a busy week for me though. So like, that beginner's guide, the first part with the manual routine took me literally all day yesterday and 2 or 3 hours the day beforehand, filming and editing. So I'm glad it's getting well received. It's just like, a lot of people don't realize how much work this YouTube stuff is. And I really just need to get a editor, but Agua, I did answer that. Do whatever you want more. You can do length and girth at the same time. Anyone says you need to hit length first doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. There's no reason. Like, think about it this way. I have went from 4.5 to over 6 inches mid-shaft girth, right? I am still gaining length quite quickly. It does not matter. Probably should have trained forearms before this, but okay. Excuse me. I'm relatively new to PE. I'm looking into getting the Apex. All I need then is the vacuum cups, yes. If you don't want to mess around with cups, you can also get something like the mail hanger. Works just the same. My 25-pound weights are here. But yeah, if you can't easily piece it together on massive novelties, the big box vacuum hanger kit's going to be the exact same stuff. Like, Perv and I literally have the same manufacturer for that stuff, so he makes Apex on his own, American made, but like all of his cups and stuff come from the same place I get mine. Farmer Rick, as a grower after year PE should I as big as I am in the cylinder when having the big O with my wife. I wouldn't say that you should be as big, but let's hope you're bigger, right? Your maximum erection size is going to be near climax, but like you're not going to be your pump size all the time, right? I'm definitely bigger during sex than I am with a normal masturbation boner, so you'd be closer to it, but I wouldn't say you're going to be max size or oversized, if that makes sense. Okay, so 3 sets of these, and then I'm done. So tomorrow, what I'm probably going to do is do my pre-workout stuff for a half hour before lifting, and that way I have more time to work before this, and I can answer these questions faster as they come in. And since it seems to slow down around, I don't know, 3:30, I might just end the stream there and then lift. We'll see. It's not that I don't enjoy this, it's just my time is limited, and I do really need to stay swole, so. So if you're having lymphatic issues, PG from vacuum extending, the male hanger is a great alternative. Spoiler, I'm about to start selling male hanger. I literally just paid for 50 of them. So get them from Ben for now. That's the guy that makes male hanger. But like basically anything that I think is worthwhile, I'm going to try to be selling on Peak Male Physique because it just makes it easier for everyone involved, the manufacturer, myself, and the consumer, because then they don't have to go through 5 to 6 different vendors to find stuff. Like that's going to be our first pickup. I'm trying to get some American-made sleeves because the psycho keeps riffing about China, and like it doesn't hurt to have like premium sleeves here as well. But like basically we're just trying to cover all of our bases for whatever you need. An old school size genetics extender. Any thoughts on replacing the compression straps or an adapter for vacuum? Well, initially I was gonna ask you to send me that so I can use it in videos and say don't use this, but there's the Mighty Vac Pro on eBay, and that is a vacuum extender. They might sell a conversion kit for anything to make it vacuum hanger friendly. Don't quote me on that though. What you could do if you still want to use the size genetics extender, and we can talk more about this off the line. He is my IT guy. You could get a cheap frame extender from like AliExpress and then use that piece that they connect the bell with to the size genetic extender because it has better springs, right? Aru, how many sessions on average does it take to see increases? Assuming 30 minutes of vibration. Is stretch flaccid? Dude, I'm literally bigger right after the session. Like we're talking an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch bigger right after a vibration session. Any session really. If you're doing PE right, you'll be about an 1/8 inch bigger for 2 hours after a length session. Now, for long-term changes, it took at least 10 days for me to believe the changes in erect size. But like I would say about 10 days in, you should see notable improvements to erection size with vibration therapy. Yeah, you can't get it anyway because you're in the United Arab Emirates. I'm sorry, but the risk is just too high for me. Creatine monohydrate is a good for Peak Male Physique. Creatine monohydrate makes me bloated as fuck. I don't know why, but like even at like 5 milligrams, I look really puffy, even once it's supposed to like come down. And like, I barely have vascularity as it is. I can't have any added water. So for the most people, yeah. Me in particular, no, creatine does not help me that much. Okay, that is a question I wish I could answer. Should I take alpha blockers for hard flaccid. My hard flaccid is mainly anxiety related, and I'm constantly twirling 24/7. If you have anxiety, I'm not exactly sure what an alpha blocker is, but like let's assume it's a mild antidepressant. Um, be careful with the dosages because that stuff can actually lead to smaller flaccids. I might be confusing it with Adderall though, off the top of my head, but in general, anything that's going to be messing with serotonin is going to mess with the arousal response too. A very mild doses, if you have like clinical anxiety, will help probably with erection quality, but it might take you longer to come. For the most part, let's say you do 2.5 milligrams of Lexapro, that's going to be relatively benign and like it's going to be very easy for you to come off compared to like going hardcore SSRIs. But I am not a mental health professional, so get a lot more opinion than mine. Okay. Uh, Frenulum injury continued. Robert, I think, tore his frenulum a bit, or he like strained a nerve or something like that in his frenulum. I recommended him to take about 1 to 3 weeks off. Anyway, should he be looking out for anything? If I'm correct, you should have some crazy erections next week. Like 3 to 4 days from now to next week, you should have some pretty good erection quality and erection frequency. And that's kind of like that overcompensating period I was talking about. But other than that, changes in sensation, you should be more sensitive, like in a good way. I'm not sure how much that's going to help with your frenulum. Might make the frenulum a little bit more unbearable at first, but I'm just speaking off what I've noticed when I go on vacation and don't do PE. It is hard to keep my dick in my shorts, like when it comes to like day 3 or 4 on vacation. So, all right, I'm gonna answer these last 2 questions, then I'm gonna head out. Okay? Can you tell me a supplement you use besides steroids? I won't do that. Okay, I cannot recommend enough getting a whey protein. It's like the most basic answer, but like I take 2 scoops of whey protein a day, and that basically guarantees me that I'll be at least over 100 grams of protein in total. I eat 100-gram protein breakfast, and then whatever my wife makes, I can get at least 50 grams of protein at dinner. So I can get at least 200 grams of protein. Protein is going to be the most important thing for muscle building. So having a nice supplement with that is going to go the farthest than anything else you can take. And that's one of the main reasons why I've been trying to push Hank to do protein, except the price isn't that good on it, like for us to sell. Another discussion for another day. I really fucking love Vigor. If I was not a stakeholder in its success, I would still be taking it. It's not like a traditional pre-workout. It can pair very well with other pre-workouts, particularly with caffeine. And that's what makes it so great. So like I'll take a normal energy drink, take Vigor, and then I get just gigantic pumps with it. But like if you can't afford Vigor, L-citrulline is a very good supplement to take right before your workouts with some caffeine, and that's going to get you the pump and the alertness you need to be like relatively at your top of your game. I will not indulge you with steroid use. Yeah, whey is incredibly expensive now. I fucking hate it. And like I was looking at it at my manufacturer. I'll spare you the details, but I was fucking pissed on how much it costs. Like, so it costs to produce like 20, I mean like, what was it, 30 servings. It's like $20 for 1,000 units. So like, these big companies can make them a lot cheaper per unit than me. But like, holy shit, it's just not fair. Like I usually looked for like, I'm like bitching about protein. Look at me go. But I would look for like 50 cents a scoop now. Now it's like 75 a dollar a scoop, and like that's the best you can fucking find. Oh, it's so frustrating. Anyway, Aru, is it okay to use vibrations daily? There needs to be a day where you don't need to use it at all. I'm doing 3 days of length, and then an off day can it be used for girth? So yes, it can be used for girth. You just pump with it instead of use it for length. I do not use vibrations on my scheduled off days. I'm down here if you can't tell. But in general, probably taking breaks from vibration is the best thing because it allows the collagen in the stem cells to calm down. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why foul back sucked long term, is because the stem cells get too stressed out and they kind of just to the stressor. Okay, you're asking too many good questions. All right, Halo, how do you have any tips for general motivation? Motivation is a myth. I will have great bouts of motivation when getting started. The hard part is getting past that second or third week because like then you fall out of favor, right? You have to be focused on the long-term goal. And so for example, let's say you're trying to lose weight. Thinking about, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds is not what you need. What you need to start thinking about is how does a healthy person act? Because you're actually trying to become a healthy person. So changing your identity to reach that goal is going to be more beneficial than just focusing and being motivated to do something about this arbitrary number that you picked for weight loss, right? So a healthy person is going to eat healthy, a healthy person is going to do cardio, and a healthy person is not going to drink and do stuff like that. So considering yourself a healthy person from the very start completely changes your mindset moving forward. So you're less likely to eat out, you're less likely to skip the gym, and you're less likely to drink just because you are now changed your identity to be a healthy person instead of whatever you are now. That is a very vast oversimplification to this, but motivation in general, while useful for getting started, you are never going to succeed long term if you rely just on that first burst of energy. You need something else to drive you and create that behavior change. Okay. Kenny, thanks, BD. I'm off on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I'll always listen to this when you get off work. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. You don't have to listen to me, but it's nice nonetheless. And then Nebby. So creatine isn't needed. Basically, no supplement is needed. The only thing that is an absolute necessity is going to be protein. Everything else will add, like, let's say a 1 to 2% modifier to your overall physique. But let's say you're taking 5 supplements, that'll be like a 10% total in your potential gains that year, right? So like you can gain, I don't know, 20 pounds in your first year, you can gain 22 pounds now when you're taking supplements. And this is coming from a guy that sells supplements. If you're going to focus on anything, the food that you eat is going to lead to much better results than supplements. Supplements can help elite athletes get that competitive edge, but like a normal guy, much better off just buying a head of lettuce every week or, you know, a box of spinach, whatever, than anything else. All right. I got a little excited here at the end. I really need to clean up before my wife gets home. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 2 p.m. Might be a little different stream style, but there will be a stream nonetheless.